Hi everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Deborah. Tonight I'm going to teach you how to render lard. At the locker where we get our pork processed, they put the fat from the hogs into bags for us, and they usually weigh about 5 pounds. So you can see it's a little bit bigger than a bag of sugar or flour. Now I could, if I was in a hurry, I could just throw all of this right into my Dutch oven. But if I did that, it wouldn't melt quite as well as it will if I cut it a little bit. So I am going to cut these pieces. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller because we'll get a little bit better melting that way. If you've been around very long, you know I love my cast iron. So that is what I like to use. There are all kinds of different recipes for rendering lard. You can do it, you can wet render, you can dry render, you can do it in the oven, in a crock pot, on top of the stove. I prefer doing it in my Dutch oven, and I dry render it. And so basically I'm going to cut these up into somewhat small pieces and toss them into my Dutch oven here. It is totally cast iron. There's nothing plastic on it or anything. So the whole thing is going to go into my oven at 250 degrees, and it is going to stay there for most of the night. This is in the middle of summer. If this was in the middle of winter, I would very happily do this in the middle of the day. But since this is summer and we've got 90-degree days, I'm going to do it overnight because it is getting down into the 60s at night. So that'll keep the house cooler. Don't be worried about getting little pieces of meat in there. That's not a big deal. Those are cracklins, and in fact, we love using cracklins in cooking because it gives it even more of a, if you want something to really have a nice porky flavor, then that'll definitely give you that nice porky flavor. And there you go. So 5 pounds just about fills up my Dutch oven perfectly. So I'm going to put the lid on this, and as soon as my oven is done heating up, it looks like it's up to 205 now. As soon as my oven is at 250 degrees, I'm just going to go ahead and stick that in there. Not that I have to wait, but actually by the time I'm done washing my hands, it probably will be 250 degrees. And then it will render overnight. And tomorrow morning when I get up, I'll have a nice pot full of lard and cracklins. Good morning. So I just pulled this out of the oven, and you can see it's bubbling away here. It's 250 degrees. And there's a bunch of little pieces of fat floating in there. And but this is fine. It's been in there now for a little over 6 hours. If I were doing this during the day, I would have checked on it more often, but like I said, I did it overnight because it's the middle of summer here, and I don't want the house to be hot during the day. It's been an hour and 45 minutes since I pulled this out of the oven, and you can see it's still liquid. I just checked the temperature though, and it's just under 100 degrees, so we want to get this poured really quickly before it gets solid. Now, this is kind of tricky, and I want to make sure I get good pictures, so I have enlisted the help of my husband to do this. So I'm going to be filming while he does this. So, Mike, explain what you're going to do.
So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the melted lard and hold it back, hold the chunks that are still there back with the bottom of this bowl, and pour it into this bowl. And then this bowl has a better lip, and we'll pour into the strainer, the funnel, and into our canning jar. This bowl will also be used then once the cracklings are all in the colander to help press out any additional lard into the big bowl here, which is then poured in as well.
Because back in the old days, people used a lard press to get all of the lard out of the cracklings. But although we do have a lard press, it doesn't work, unfortunately. It would be awesome if it did. So this is our makeshift lard press, basically. And this is pretty dark, and that's because it went overnight in the oven. And it's going to have a pretty porky flavor. So you would not want to use this method for making lard that you were going to use for pie crusts. And then I like to use either pint jars or the 1.5 jars that are wide mouth, that are wide open, because it's much easier to get the lard out of these jars when you want to use it. Because they have nice, the sides are completely straight. So we got a lot of cracklings left now in here. And so the cracklings are going to go into the colander. One benefit of this is that it definitely does keep your cast iron very well seasoned when you use it for rendering lard. Even though we do get quite a bit more than 5 pounds of fat from our pigs, actually we usually get about 5 of those 5-pound bags of fat from each pig, and those are guinea hogs because they have a lot of fat, which is one reason we love them, because I love my lard. We just do 5 pounds at a time. We keep the fat frozen and then just do 5 pounds at a time. So Mike is basically now pressing that stainless steel bowl into the colander to press the cracklings to try and get out as much of the lard as possible. So I imagine some people might be freaking out about how dark this is, but it's going to lighten up a lot once it's cooled. Oh, that was perfect. 2 jars, perfectly. And since we poured this at 100 degrees, we are going to be storing it. We'll put one in the fridge and we'll put the other one in the freezer. We just use these nice little plastic lids to close them. Again, since it's 100 degrees, they're not going to seal, so I don't want to waste canning lids. And then we label it and put the date on it. This is what the cracklings look like when we pull the bowl out. And we'll basically just store those in a covered container and use them in cooking, like we'll put them into beans for flavor and things like that. Here you have it. This is the lard. It's cooled off now, and it is a little darker than usual, but like I said earlier, that's because I had it cooking all night long in the oven. So the longer it renders, the darker it gets, and also the porkier it gets. So although this would not really be great if you were going to make a crust for, say, a lemon meringue pie, which I'm not going to do, this will be awesome for anything else that we do, because everything that we use this for basically is frying. You know, I throw it in the pan and saute greens, and I fry things in it. So I love the flavor, the porky flavor that it gets. This is something I think is really cool. I just wanted to show you. It's kind of fun. As it cools, this dimple gets sucked down into the middle. So it's just a cute little thing that you get to see. And so that's it. Rendering lard is really the easiest thing in the world. Sounds totally foreign to most of us in today's world, but it's really one of the easiest things you can do. Way easier, even easier than making cheese